Right, you can call this a review of the Tenable game. It's become the latest ITV game show to get a playable game. There are other ones by Barnstrom Games, like The Chase, for example, and Tipping Point. And if you want to play the BBC's Pointless or Channel 4's Countdown, you can play that also in the palm of your hand using a tablet or a phone. Or, if it was working, which is why I'm not doing it on there, unfortunately, you could use an Android emulator on the PC and play it on the big screen or an Android TV box. So let's see how realistic it is, and how much of a good experience it is, and just how fun the game is to play. Well, it is, if you're into quizzing, this is a very fun format, because it's the opposite of the likes of Pointless, because what you do in this is, you've got to decide on, in most cases, the most likely and the biggest options. They're all top 10s, but they're also top 10 lists of things, or just 10 lists of things. For example, here, the first 10 singles released by the Beatles. And just like Pointless, though, that means that some of the subjects that you get in it are going to be things that you're not interested in, that you'll just barely score anything. So let's have a look at what the game is like. I love music and the Beatles, so this will be dead easy. So I'll just see if we win this game. Shouldn't be too difficult with a round like this. So Love Me Do was the first one. That was out in 62. It only made number 17 in the charts. Just talk over the great Warwick Davis. There obviously is pre-recorded segments. And if you want to skip that realistic inclusion of the game,
let's get another answer up there.
Then you can do that just by pressing the screen. So Let Me Do is easy enough. What was next? I think that was out in the autumn of 62. Then they had loads of number ones in 63. I think She Loves You is one of them.
Is that in this top 10?
So we see.
It is at number 4.
You can just skip it. So that's easy enough.
What's next?
Ticket to Ride was kind of early 60s
Let's
still,
see if
wasn't
it's
it?
up. There it is.
Ooh, right there at only the 10th one. So there's right answers in this format.
Let's have another answer.
And obviously, some things can be 11th or 12th, so some things might be right, and that's the extra twist in it. I Want to Hold Your Hand, for example, was an early one. We should romp home on this one.
You just need one more answer to get that place in the final.
Is that you've got to get the first 5 right no matter what, and then you can play on to higher prize amounts, or you can create lives for the final where you've got to get 10 right. So that might be more valuable than just scoring a big possible prize amount that you might lose if you've got hardly any lives in the final. So I'm sure you've seen it. This quiz show hasn't had that much exposure because it's only been on in the daytime on ITV so far.
Okay, for £1,000 and your place in the final, is that tenable?
Oh, it's after 64.
That was untenable.
By default, you do have... let's see, it was the 11th one. You do have... now,
you've lost a life, but you're still in the game.
You do have 1 life in each round. Well, I know it's not Hey Jude, because that was amongst the latest stuff they did in the 60s. So there you go. Now I'm going to dare to play on there.
Guaranteed your place in the final.
So sorry about the low resolution. There's not much space on the card. I'd have to clear it. Loads of number 1s that the Beatles had in 1963.
You can play on.
I will play on. So this is where it gets a bit gambly. Next? It's a bit of a shame, really, because I find this as entertaining as The Chase, and maybe it'll become a bigger show. It might even be good enough to have primetime shows like Celebrity Tenable or... A Hard Day's Night was the first ever Beatles film, and it was earlier, like 64, but it doesn't mean it's going to be on this.
There it is. Do you want to stick with what you've got or play on?
Yeah, definitely play on. I do know my Beatles,
okay,
but
let's have another answer.
Wasn't quite sure of when. Can't Buy Me Love was one of the early ones as well.
Is that 8? There it is.
So he does only say a few things, Warwick, but he's the presenter.
Are you going to stay and play on?
But it has enough programming to make this a pretty good simulation, and now they've just brought out the Chase Ultimate as well.
So, what's next?
Yeah, what is next? Well, that was one of their more experimental sort of, that era in the late 60s and the Walrus. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'll try. I Feel Fine. Because that was an early sort of poppy Beatles, wasn't it? If I can just press it there.
Is that in this top 10? There it is at number 9. Do you want to stick with what you've got or play on?
I will take that, only because I want to get to the end of this video for sure.
Remaining answers were behind number 7 and number 2.
Right, so again, you could skip this if you wanted to skip it. Right, so If you know a lot about the topics, you could win up to 40,000, 50,000, but it's only a simulation, obviously. Right, so here we go.
Let's get straight on with our next top 10.
Could be anything, could be into sport, just like Pointless, where you've sometimes got an annoying final round on things you know nothing about, if that's it. Right, well, I don't...
answer you think's going to be in this top 10?
I know the wives of Henry VIII, that's about all I know, really. That's what kids they had. I assume that one of them was part of the royal family.
What's next?
Carried on after him. Catherine Howard, yeah. I think I know what the 6 wives are, so we should get the 5. Yeah, it gives you little facts as well about certain questions. Not on every single answer, but on some of them it does.
Is that a... There it is.
Which is an interesting extra element to the game, I like.
What's next?
I mean, this is very entertaining. If you're a quiz fan, it's only a couple of quid to download this, so you might as well get it.
You are 1 away for your place in the final and £1,000 now.
Helen of Aquitaine, that could be right, couldn't it? You know, I'm not sure. We haven't even named all the 6 wives yet. Jane Seymour was one. Might as well go with the... That's
okay, for £1,000 and your place in the final. Is that in this list?
One strategy is, if you do know something about the subjects, answer the obvious ones first to save your lives.
Place in the final, so well done.
Don't start gambling early on. Right, so they're the 6 wives. She died in 1537.
Don't forget, you've still got 1 life.
Still talking about her now.
Give me another answer.
So let's see. Now it gets a bit harder. The kids of Henry VIII, obviously because it was the royal family, whoever it was that followed him, it was still the Tudor family and the royal family at the time, wasn't it? Presumably. I'll have to go Elizabeth I. I could be wrong.
Is that it? There it is.
Yeah, because she became queen. So we're going to play on with one more. This is very risky now, actually, because
what's next?
I'm not sure I know anybody else. Charles II was later on, like 100 years later on, because he was the king during the Great Fire of London, so it couldn't be that, could it? Eleanor of Aquitaine, I'll try it. Oh, no. Haven't we lost a life as well, or have we?
You've lost your life, I'm afraid to say.
So you're still in the round, but then you better not gamble at that point. So we'll take the money. And add it to the prize fund. Right. So you go. You can skip all that sort of stuff there, as you say, which would make it a bit repetitive. With the other answers. You should try to remember the other answers because it helps your quiz knowledge, and also there's only so many rounds stored in this game. I assume they come up again sometimes. But you can buy extra questions if you want as well. But those are on
it's time to play tenable.
Music, and just like in the Chase you can do that. Right, well, I'm not that into football because I'm into maps. I kind of know where the stadiums are. Anfield's obvious. That's L4 in Liverpool.
Was indeed at number 5.
You should easily get the top 5. There you go. See, a little factoid pops up about that as well. I found that a very interesting little extra bit for this game. It just doesn't do it on every question, though. Right, the Etihad Stadium, is that in London?
It is at number 4.
Manchester City's ground, I think, isn't it? Sorry, thinking about it. Or was it? I think.
Give me another answer.
Emirates Stadium. This one as well.
Is that in the... It is.
Yep. Arsenal. Yeah, that's their ground.
What's next?
Anyway, even if you're not into football, you hear about it all the time. If you switch the radio on, TV on, and people talking about it, you know, that's probably good for your quizzes. If Goodison Park, yeah, that's Everton's ground in Liverpool. You can see that from the A59 at one traffic light when you're going up there towards. Let's see, Hillsborough Stadium. Well, you could forget what that was famous for. That was Sheffield Wednesday, although they might not be in the Premier League anymore, might they? Don't know why I shouldn't put it really then. It might be wrong.
Is that...
No, but it is a football ground.
Oh my word. I'm afraid you've lost your life.
Alright, that means I've got to be careful now. I think Ewood Park, Old Trafford's Man United's ground. God, I'm talking like a football fan now. Man United. Won't start singing Glory, Glory Man United. I don't think I'd support them. Yep, Sir Alex Ferguson. That's how important they think he is in this society. Sir Alex Ferguson.
Do you want to stick with what you've got or play on?
I will play on. I know some more. I do know some more.
Let's get another answer up there.
Oh.
Is that in the top 10?
That was stupid. I just pressed it by accident.
Number 3.
I didn't know that was a football ground. I had no idea that was a football ground. I just thought it was... I know a couple more.
What's next?
Couldn't name you the team. Ewood Park is I've heard of that. Elland Road is a bit more of a safe, but isn't that Leeds United or something?
Is it up there?
Let's have a look. Ah, they're not in the Premier League. They're probably like the one below, which is the Championship,
I'm
the second
afraid
league.
that was untenable. Let's find out what those remaining
We've lost that
answers
money
were.
then. You can get a bit cocky. Stadium of Light is that Newcastle or Sunderland or something? Oh well, still got the same money, but you're not out. One thing is though, you've got loads of lives for the final, so you've got to get 10 questions in that final no matter what. So there you go. Let's just see how we do.
Let's take home that.
Only you could earn real money playing these quiz games from home. Wouldn't that be a great way? Well, which would I know more about? Look, what do you think is on those shelves? I wonder which one we should pick.
Let's reveal your final top 10.
So there you go. I'm filming this in a bedroom, which is where I'm going to do a lot of media work thanks to the size of this flat. The last 10 Oscar-winning animated feature films up to 2017. I'll do alright with this, although I don't find them
when you're ready, please
as
give me an
nice
answer.
as the ones in the 80s and 90s. The more computerised, like robotic films. Despicable Me 2, that's been quite successful, hasn't it?
Is that in this list?
The Pharrell Williams Happy film was... Oh, I can't believe it. We got lives, though.
It
That
wasn't
can't be the
there.
highest grossing, or something. But it certainly was
Okay,
an
so
animated
you've lost
film in
the
the
line.
10s decade. It had the Pharrell Williams Happy song, if you remember that. Right, okay, let's see. Brave, that's one.
Is that it? It
Yeah.
was indeed at number 5. Let's
Set.
get another answer up there.
And they have to be Oscar winning, so that's Big Hero 6 might not be. That was set in Scotland. Frozen, I know that was a mega success, but did it win Oscars? It was
Let's
Disney's
see if it's up there.
original success, wasn't it? The animated films hadn't been going that well
There
for
it is.
ages, actually. Then Pixar were doing more, although I know Disney owned Pixar, but
Let's have
of
another
course it
answer.
won an Oscar for the original song. It's one of the few big Disney things recently. How to Train Your Dragon, I know that was quite a big film. Puss in Boots, which is kind of a spin-off from Shrek, I'm not sure about that one. Toy Story 3 was 2010. Yeah, that might have won Oscars, that was really good, wasn't
Is
it?
that in this top 10?
And there's going to be a new Toy Story soon, Toy Story 4. Yeah,
There it was
so that
at
was a
number
fairly
7.
safe bet. Yep, I knew that.
So, what's next?
Ratatouille was in 2007. It might have won Oscars. Yeah, let's go for it.
Is that
I think
in
that was
this
a
list?
DreamWorks. Yeah, number
There it is.
10. That was a
Let's
bit of
have
a
another
gamble
answer.
then, wasn't it? Shaun the Sheep movie. That's to do with the creators of Wallace and Gromit. I do know that. How to Train Your Dragon. It was big. I'm gonna chance it. Oh, I know it's a big film, a relatively big film.
Oh, my word. I'm afraid you've lost a life.
You know what these animated films are like these days. They're just so computerized and yeah. All right, let's see then. This is more difficult now, and there aren't lifelines as such in the tenable game. There isn't. You know, you just have to know it. There's nothing you can. I think there's the nominate option, which in the normal rounds, which I'm not sure about. Let's try Wall-E, because that was quite
Is that
acclaimed.
a tenable answer?
That was a Disney Pixar one. Yeah,
There
you
it
go.
is at number 9.
We're
Okay,
talking
let's get
noughties for
another
that.
answer up there.
Up was, I think, as well, another Pixar one. So I'm going to go for that. Quite acclaimed.
Is that tenable? Ooh, there it is. What's next?
Well, this is where it's more difficult because I don't know which ones would be. Mona was one from last year. Made by probably Disney, like Frozen, not Disney Pixar. So I'll try that.
Is that in this top 10?
Oh. See, you could lose the whole game now because you've got to find
wasn't
4
there.
right answers out of the
Okay,
remaining,
so you've
what is
lost
it,
the
10
life.
of them still? You've got to find 4 right answers out of all of these now. So it's a bit like Deal or No Deal when you don't, which box to pick when you don't actually know much about the subject. Enough, anyway. So what have we got? 4 there. And there's another 4 there and another 3 there. So that's is that 11 options and 4 of them are right. Only 4 of them. So now I've got to think which one would have won Oscars out of all these. I don't... That is more difficult. I've only got a couple of minutes of the video time left, so I'm going to have to speed up. So I'll try that one.
Is that... There it is.
I actually thought maybe that would
Let's have another answer.
have not been a good Oscar. Now I'm trying Puss in Boots, so I discounted. And I was right to discount it.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Wasn't that major, was it? In a way.
I'm afraid you've lost a life.
Still got a life, though. Fantastic, Mr. Fox. Why would it be that one? Don't know, but I'm answering it.
Is that tenable?
Must be to do with Roald Dahl, that. No. I think we're out now.
Oh, my word. Unfortunately, you haven't managed to top the tower, and you aren't going home with that prize money.
Oh, well, I'm not that good a quizzer, because I've heard him say that a few times
before
now.
we move on, let's find out.
He said it in the real show yesterday.
Behind these remaining answers. Number 6.
Right, so there you go. Bit tricky unless you follow the Oscars closely. You might have heard of the films, that's not enough. So it's a good game, you get a lot of interesting topics. Some of them are really interesting. And I'd say it's one of the best quiz games around, and it'll probably get you into watching the TV show if you never caught it, because it happens to be on at 3 o'clock in the daytime schedule of ITV. And Warwick Davis presents it, which is an interesting format for him. So ITV now, they have 3 quiz shows in a row at that time. Like this one, typically Tipping Point and The Chase, completely quizzed out between 3 and 6, and that's the game.